This portrait is entitled Just Do It. Imagine a woman with a perfect hair bun and not a single strand of hair out of place, smoking Marlboro 100s and drinking a glass of fine wine. She loved jazz from Miles Davis to Stan Getz and enjoyed Alfred Hitchcock films. She was bold and wasn't afraid to say what was on her mind. She resembled Audrey Hepburn with her classy style. She was short, skinny, tan, had a slightly raspy voice, and smelled of cigarette smoke and rich perfume. She was beautiful, the mother of my mother, my Grandma Clark. As a child, she went through hell. She was physically, psychologically, and sexually abused. Through all those trials, she came out victorious. Grandma was such a sweet spirit, whom I know loved my family dearly. She will forever be remembered as that sassy, classy, cool, classic lady. We were with my when we were with my grandma. There were many times of complete fun and joy. My younger brother, David Spontarelli, and my cousins, Stephen and Eric, and I shared experiences of fun with my grandma. David says she was the coolest. Our favorite times happened at the split level, dimly lit house on Minwood Avenue in Talmadge. The house smelled of light cigarette smoke and expensive perfume. Grandma and us kids would run around the basement and throw balls at each other's butts. It was an intense game, and we called it butt ball. There was never a winner, and no one lost. This is my favorite sport of all time. Once we would arrive to her house, David recalled that the first thing he would say to her was, "Let's play butt ball." She would crack a smile in her slightly raspy voice and reply, "All right, I'm coming." Oh, how I miss it. My favorite memory of her was her last Christmas Eve. My family gathered at my grandma and grandpa's house for the holiday. By this time, they had moved into a condo in a development in Stowe. Still dimly lit, still the smell of light cigarette smoke and rich perfume. There was a pond in the backyard, one of those kept up smaller condo ponds. It had frozen over and Grandma knew that. She said, "Put your coats on. We're walking on the pond." I had never done such a thing before, and I was a bit nervous. Grandma could read our face and said, "Oh, come on, just do it." So we did, and she led the way. There were times where the ice would crack and Grandma would say, "Just keep going." We circled the whole pond, and David, my cousins, and I felt like we had accomplished something. We went back inside, took off her jackets, and she looked at us with a cracked smile and said, "See, that wasn't so bad. That's Grandma." And as David says, she had that just do it mentality. We then ate our dinner and opened our gifts. One of the gifts I received was a Michael Jackson CD. I was so excited. I asked Grandma, "Can we listen to this?" "Of course," she replied. They had speakers all throughout the first floor of the condo. Michael Jackson was blaring. Grandma led the line of David, my cousins, and I, and she was dancing like a maniac. Seeing that made us want to dance like fools as well. I could not tell you how many times we circled the first floor. At one point, Grandma even did a somersault. My grandpa knelt down next to her and asked if she was all right. I saw her nod her head, and now the dancing was over. We had the time of our lives. The goodbye that night was hard. Grandma was crying. She knew it was her last Christmas. She hugged and kissed us and said, "I love you." And that was strange to me because I'd never heard her say that before. I knew something was wrong. My brother and I were all aware that were well aware that she had cancer. But reality was creeping in and cancer we knew things and cancer was taking over. My family piled in the white Dodge Caravan and I began to cry, and David did as well. David recalled that he was in tears and he remembers saying, "I'm going to miss Grandma." That's when it really hit me. This was my last Christmas with her. David and I had known that she had cancer, though Grandma had never told us. It almost seemed like an understood matter. We all knew, but no one had to say anything about it. We just heard updates about it from our mom. My heart was breaking knowing that her time was running out so quickly. She held on until May. Her last months were filled with vomiting blood, fainting, a mild stroke, and then the final ride in an ambulance. Grandma battled cancer hardcore. Throughout the whole time she had cancer, she refused chemotherapy and many other recommendations doctors had. That was her strong-willed personality, the just-do-it mentality. Chemo wouldn't have done much anyway. Her lungs were full of cancer. She rode it out to the end and never changed her mind on how she wanted to handle the sickness. She just did it. Grandma was only 58 years old, my first heavy loss, but through her death, she gained relief. I can still remember the night she passed away. David and I were at home with my dad, and we were watching television. We were waiting for that dreaded phone call, but were trying to keep distracted by whatever we were watching. The phone rang. It was my mom calling from the hospital. She spoke to my dad first, and then he handed the phone to my brother and I. She told us that Grandma had passed. David recalled that he began to yell, "No, no, no." We cried and cried. Our hearts were torn, but Grandma was at peace. A couple of days later, my family, my cousin's family, and my grandpa gathered together at the condo. We looked at pictures of her and shared stories. My grandpa told us about how they met and what raising my mom and my aunt was like. There's no funeral. She just wanted to be cremated, and that was that. To this day, my grandpa keeps a fresh rose next to her urn. He never talks about her around us anymore. I know he misses her, though. Until I began thinking about this assignment, I didn't realize how much I missed her. I've almost teared up while writing this. It's strange because I was not around her all the time, and I don't ever recall being with her alone. It was always David, my cousins, and I. Nevertheless, Grandma did have a positive effect on me. She taught me to be an individual and not to do something just because everyone else is doing it. If only she could see us now. David is almost done with college and graduating with a degree in communications. My cousin Stephen is filming and has his own film production company. My cousin Eric is graduating college with a degree in drama, and I've started my own family. Looking back, I really saw the true meaning of confidence in her, not in a rude, egotistical sort of way, just genuinely confident and full of life. She taught me many things. She taught me that many things are rough, but you have to stick it out and take care of it. Just do it. There was no holding back for her. She was an all-or-nothing type of woman. For all these things, I am forever grateful. I miss you, Grandma.